and the history and everything, you see that there's like political poets to alleviate the reality. And sometimes they may not even hit on the reality. But it's still a bit, like a way to let off steam, whether it's right or wrong. You're letting off steam just to give an idea and not point a finger. Because the idea is what we want to understand. The reason why, the psychological why somebody is doing something that may be harmful, whatever. Okay, well, that's the political poet, and there's so many of them. And in history, they actually help out because they not know the inside story, but they present it in such a way that it doesn't diminish the person that they're talking about or anything like that. So I just take that way of doing things. Also, it reveals my mind. How is he able to? How is this poet able to discern what he is saying? How is he able to see the movement of the minds of somebody else? Something, but still, it's a way to let off steam. Yeah. So a quick, brief one. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here in Vrindavan, and you can't hear them so nice, but outside there's a group of devotees sitting on the stage on the banks of the Yamuna, singing Radha, 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 all 24 hours. Just singing and singing. Some melodies fast, some melodies slow, and not too loud. Just singing, just singing. They've been out there. They started yesterday morning. Actually, it started yesterday, the night before. They started the night before. So it's gone more than 24 hours. Yeah, so those persons, you'd like to, that doesn't mean advanced or not advanced, but at least it means that they've given time. I've given time to Krishna. Well, actually, they're just saying Radha, 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 Radha. Myself, I think Radha would be feeling bad that she doesn't hear Krishna's name. But sometimes it's like that. Yeah. Sometimes it is like that. The person is glorifying somebody, but then the person that they're glorifying wants to hear the name of their person they want to glorify, but it's not there. So okay, so they've been clearing the atmosphere, especially on a Sunday. People come to Vrindavan to dump their sins, and their sins transform into not so good dirt and not so good atmosphere. That's an observation too. You gotta look at it. Yeah, you gotta recognize it. Look at it, recognize it, stare it in the face. I mean, here they're known places. Yeah, known places where drinking can go on, where prostitution can go on, but they're not like open, openly operating and everything. I happened to bump into one place just because I was out there in the morning and in the cold time. And all of a sudden I'm walking towards the ashram here, and a toto, nice new toto, all covered with cloth and everything. And it stops and blocks my path, And then I said, okay, no problem. He didn't do anything wrong. He's just parking. And then all of a sudden, the girls start coming out. I would say barely dressed isn't enough. But I won't say, anything else more than that. Barely dressed, nice, young, and they're walking into a place. So I said, oh yeah, everything here has to happen also. They did come out one time on the places that aren't on the major road, but off the major road. They had signs, we rent for 2 hours. Nobody has to ask why they say we rent for 2 hours. But of course, the persons here and authorities, they felt that was just too much, because you don't want to entice people. So the family comes, and maybe the father, he's not so much interested in what the family wants to do, so he wants to go out and enjoy, sort of. So that's what happens here in Vernal. So there's the dumping place. So usually on a Sunday night, you just feel like, oh my God, these places, people have dumped so much here. And it manifests in so many ways. Yeah, and it is a cleansing place of sin, Yeah, you get tired of seeing the sin manifest as the dirt. Yeah, so I'm sitting here trying to understand something myself. Like, you're my psychologist, and don't present me like I know, but you are my psychologist. You're analyzing the movement of my mind, not that I'm analyzing the movement of another's mind. So many things may come up in this world, and they have some logic to them, and some desire that is honestly good, some desire that's honestly good, but manifesting in so many strange ways. One of those is the young boy becomes a devotee. He sees that other members of his family are inclined to liberal sex life, and of course acting like that too. But he says, okay, I am going to avoid such a thing as this liberal sex life because I want to be a good person. So what he does in 1980, you gotta know the history too, and the atmosphere, the history. What was the philosophical understanding of why to sterilize people? The government had a huge project of sterilization. When I think it started in 1976 and ended in 1986. So there may have been some very good reasons why they wanted to sterilize the persons, but there was also a hidden tantric reason. Yeah, a very, very heavy, hidden tantric reason. That if I propagate this, I will get so much power. And it may, in the material sense, there may be something to it. So the person who was running this place had done some horrible things, had some, trying to talk quickly at this hour in the morning. So, she had done some horrible things because some sadhus, very well-known sadhus, had come and asked her, to please stop killing the cows. And then she wanted their vote. So she says, of course, if you round up everybody and talk nicely of me, I'll certainly take that in my effort, in my being prime minister, I will do. So she didn't do it. So they came and demonstrated. And some of them were murdered right there. So you can see that gives it a more obvious thing that the person is saying something but really doing something else. So this sterilization was propagated for the purpose of controlling the population. That's the quote, purpose of. And I think it was either, for me, it's not different. 5 million or 6 million people were sterilized within a short period of time, because if you could prove, that you sterilized somebody, then they would pay you. No matter if you were part of the government or not part of the government, they were paying you because they needed help. Myself, because I came here in 77 and I also came here in 86, I was about to go to Govardhan. And they said that they had the devotees told me, better you not go right now, something's happening. So, they described that they had a mobile van that they were pulling around, and the sadhus were being forced. Now, this is in the 80s. They're being forced to line up and become sterilized, totally against their will. So you're going like, oh my God, that's a little bit harsh, So even some, and because they were trying to do so many, some of the men were coming out still bleeding. They were sterilizing women too, but that's not so hard. So, yeah. So I said, okay, I'm not going to go. But the person who was running this place, the prime minister, she was able to do so many things that you would think were criminal. I mean, like just totally criminal. To give some land to some factory, the indigenous persons that were living there were just murdered, taken out, and given the land to someone else. So, and many other acts like that. But nothing had really happened drastically to her. But right after this sterilization, and then coming to the point where you're in Govardhan, and coming to the point where even sadhus are forced to stand in line, that was it. You can come to Vrindavan and get rid of your sins, but this has gone too far. Yeah. I think it's called Vinodavani Gaudiya Math. Near it, they also were just about to put up their housing and everything and live here in Vrindavan and have one of their main offices here in Vrindavan. So Krishna had the leader shot by one of her own own guards. So it shows you that isn't such a good idea to have sterilization and then have it forced sterilization. One would conclude this is not such a good idea. Krishna's not too much satisfied with this. So in that time, there was a philosophy running around. and not just some, but heavy philosophy. That, like you're helping the whole country by getting sterilized. Actually, it'll help you out so much. You won't be prone to so much sex life, and just innumerable things like this were coming out. More and more and more. And the temple in Mathura is right across the street from the main grounds of the district hospital. This place where a lot of it's going on. Right there at the district hospital. So 3 young people, 1 girl and 2 men, decided, okay, we will go ahead and do this. And this is like an act, a sacrificial act, that we don't want to take that path, of sense gratification, and we want to take the path of renunciation, but it's so difficult, so we will offer it. We will offer it, and then in that pact, we will be so much benefited by that pact. That's pact. Now, there's no criticism here, because you don't know if they're offering it in a tantric mood for power and control, or you don't know if they're offering it in a way that they truly want to just serve, and they don't want to be distracted. So we won't go into this side, the tantric mood, and we don't want to go inside to this side. Oh, we just want to help. Right? We won't go into that. You can judge that by the result. You can judge that by the result. I mean, how everything's developing. So, but if you offer it as a tantric mood, it gives great power. It does. I have to admit. You go to the sacrificial arena and you tell the external energy of Krishna, and that's another thing. Understand, this is Daivi Esha Gunamayi. This is my divine energy. That's how Krishna is declaring it. So I'm going to go to the tantric mood, and I will offer it. Right? And then I will go to the other mood, not making some declaration, one's spiritual and one's not spiritual. I'll do that on my own. And not judging consciousnesses. So the 3 personalities, they came together and they said, yes, we will be able to lead this movement that our guru is now establishing, and we will be able to lead it very well without the distraction that most people have, and the heavy distraction it is. So, of course, either Daivi Esha Mai is going to be very happy with us, or if we're doing it with the wrong, with that other attitude, Krishna will be very, very happy. So with that in mind, they did. They did. So, is it to be judged? No, you can't judge it. Can't judge it. The atmosphere was too heavy right in front of the temple. Right in front of the temple, in the district hospital, lining up people, and even people that the persons knew are being lined up, and in 5 minutes they're fixed. In 5 minutes they're ready to go. So it doesn't look like such a harmful thing, but it's a great decision. Yeah. I would say, personally, and I feel without a doubt, totally wrong decision. Whether the person is still pursuing that decision or whether not, that's up to them. That's up to them. But of course, everybody wants to protect themselves. So there's different ways to protect. Okay. So now, some reasoning on, because I'm totally against it. I'm trying to get a positive reasoning why the person or the persons would enter into such a contract for life, because it's for life. Why would somebody without need declare that my body that Krishna made is not functioning in the right way, so I have to take a physical act to make it function in the right way? And that to me is not right. Because you're just changing one physical level, but you're not changing all the levels that brought it up. Your past life, the duties that you are going to have in this life, and everything. You're neglectful of that to accomplish something that you weren't made by Krishna to do. So it's not the way. But in this day and age, there's so many movements of the mind that are developing why to be transgender. Why to be transgender and all the good properties with transgenderism. So, even within hearing all the good results of being a transgender, I can't come to the conclusion that some physical operation is going to help. Especially when one of the male and one of the females still had the inclination of physical contact. So as they were doing all this and hoping that it was going to be very pleasing, they were having activities even just before giving lectures in Gorpanim. Yeah. Even before giving lectures in Gorpanim, they were having activities with each other. You can say under the covers, under the covers. Not publicly, but under the covers. But, some of the other young men that knew them even knew the hotel where they were. So they were like, this is like something else. They're having these activities, but we don't see that they're inclined to. Okay. So it wasn't working so well. Yes, it wasn't working so well. But the negative acts and everything and the not working so well is not going to come out. So the fear is, and it is a fear. Don't get me wrong. Don't even try to reduce it 1%. The fear is that even though I'm putting something out right now, and talking about it in a, like a unbiased, just examining it and letting you decide. Even if I'm doing that, some young girls and boys are going to see this as, oh, this is wonderful. Because now the person is a leader that did it. Of the three, they're all leaders. All three are leaders. All three are very intelligent. All three are well respected. And then the person, the young boy or young girl, will conclude, yes, the physical act has helped them out. And it's helped them restrain their senses. Because you're not going to know the negatives. You're not going to know the one young man and one young girl going off for about 3 days just before coming to Gaur Purnim, and doing some acts. So you won't know it. So the danger is that this type of what they call now transgenderism is going to be glorified by some. Oh, I'm having such a hard time with this physical acts of sex life. I can't control myself. I'm this, I'm that. I should hit myself with a stick in the morning and hit myself with a shoe at night. And all these negative things, but just cut it and that's it. Excuse me. You can't escape the mind. So what happens is you're damming. You're putting a dam on a thing that's beautiful. Putting a dam on something that's beautiful. And it should be treated as, the energy should be treated as very beautiful. And it has been put in places where the decision is left to the person, whether the energy is there, the whole work of it, the whole work of illicit and licit. At one point, the movements of the mind and everything, they're the same. Prem Bhakti, same as the material desire for sex life. The same, it's going through this body. But it comes to the point where the decision has to be made, how to direct it. There's 3 chapters in a book called Sri Krishna Chaitanya, written by Professor Sanyal, who was a very erudite devotee of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. I can say somebody's name. He's very erudite, Professor Sanyal, and he wrote this book. So after Srila Bhakti Siddhanta read that book, he made a strong statement to him. Because within his group, the subject matter was not talked about, especially any Prem Bhakti subject matter, real strong Prem Bhakti subject matter was not talked about because of the intimacy and how delicate of a subject matter was. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is seeing this book as wonderful, but he's also seeing this book as not so much into his mood of not allowing the devotees to read deep Prem Bhakti books. They did in a very careful way, but because you're not going to neglect all those books, but in a very, very careful way. So he wanted to treat this with much, much care. So he called Professor Sanyal, and he says, you have 3 chapters here. Whether he said it in the mood, you have to explain it, or he said in the mood, this is a very beautiful book, and chapters have to be here, but they need explanation. I would take the second explanation. That yes, this is a very beautiful book, and it's only half of the book. The other half he had written and everything, but never got printed. And I'd love to hear, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta didn't read it. So, but he said these 3 chapters are important. These 3 chapters are important. I want you to make a small pamphlet. Okay? And a small pamphlet, yeah. The erotic function, the erotic function. That function which is trying to be controlled for spiritual life, the erotic function, that's just giving a title to it. It doesn't say that it's bad. The erotic prem, or the erotic love, or the erotic, that the common person is, and even the spiritual person has that. It's non-different from devotional service. It's non-different. I'll put the link down, and you'll see the book. So that was the title that they agreed on. You have to present it in this way. Why? Because at that time, in those 3 chapters too, it was pointed out that it was wrong to use morals to control sex life. Morality will never control sex life. No, you have to control it only by the desire to develop prema bhakti, because that's how it wants to come out. And he presents it, and he even says, even the biggest of all scholars that says that morals are going to control it, they can't even control it themselves. The guys that are writing, they can't even control it themselves. And they won't admit to it. Because it's not something that can be contained in any way. Like Gaur Govinda Maharaj, you say you haven't got the container to contain prema bhakti, but you're full of it. So you have to really be careful with it. So those 3 chapters were the marriage of Nimai with Lakshmi Priya first. Then Lakshmi Priya, out of great distress of not being with Nimai and being close to him, she disappeared. Don't ever say she died. She disappeared. Because that's what she did. She disappeared out of the scene for a purpose. And it's a deep purpose. Lakshmi Priya is Shri. That is the energy of the Lord. When the Lord descends, his energies are with him. And the most prominent ones, even if you go to Muktinath, you'll see Shri on one side, and you'll see Bu on the other side. Shri and Bu. And Bu is more like the Prem Bhakti side, and Shri is the opulent side. So you need that. Okay? So they're always, those are like the prominent ones, Shri and Bu. So Shri Lakshmi, she disappears, and then that's 1 chapter. Then 2 chapters are dedicated to Vishnu Priya and Nimai together. How they were married. And because he has to present this to an audience that he wants it to be read by, of sannyasis and brahmacharis and everything. So he's presenting it in such a way that he wants them to not analyze it by the morality that's being shoved down their throat, but analyze it as non-different. That is one of our greatest energies that can be misdirected. That's our greatest energy that can be misdirected or directed in the right direction. You can't in any way stop it by morality. Professor Sanyal, that was his thing. All these religions that by morality you're going to stop it, you can never stop it. It must manifest. And it is our duty to manifest it as much as possible. The erotic principle must be treated with great respect, because it can open a canal up for the dangerous path, or it can open the canal up for the transcendental world. But not through morality are you going to control it. Not by physical severing it are you're going to control it. This is not the way. So that being the point, or taking that as an example, I would stand firmly and say that a physical operation is not going to take care of the problem. Not going to take care. And a matter of fact, you are damaging that which you're looking for. You're damaging the ability to develop that Prem Bhakti. And the Prem Bhakti will, in other words, when you're damaging it, it's even going to convince you that you're doing right. So that being the case, the act for me is it's like almost the most dangerous act that anybody could do. Not so much for that person. The person might suffer. The person might have some great devotees around him helping him out. But for those that come in the future, when they know of the activities, so to open Pandora's box, yeah, I'm opening Pandora's box. To open Pandora's box and let it come out publicly has to be done in a very, very careful, very thoughtful way. That the three personalities, I don't diminish their work. I don't stop their preaching. I don't this, that, and the other. But I certainly don't want to condone the activity. For whatever reason, internally they did it, whether it was a positive reason or a negative reason. The activity I cannot condone. That's it. I can't give so much support that it is an activity that can be done. So I leave it at that. And I hope I have not, because to to in any way hamper the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of preaching the glories of the name, that's not the object here. I don't have that object. But I know that the info will leak out. And I know that, okay, you got the young boy that is confused, he's bothered, he's hampered in so many ways by this sex indulgence. And all of a sudden he stumbles on the act. And he stumbles on what was the positive reason of why to do it. That, when I say positive, I don't think it's positive in any way. But so he stumbles on it, and then he goes down that path too. But he becomes, for me, he becomes a cheater. Oh yes, I can become a great preacher. Oh yes, I can become a great sannyasi and preach all over the world. But when I'm not in everybody's view, I'm totally not that person. But still, we need everybody to preach. We need everybody. Even Prabhupada, I don't know why he helped me out, but he helped me out too. So I know that, don't worry, I lived with myself 80 years. Yeah, I lived in this body about 80 years already. So I can understand, that there's a lot of mercy in Srila Prabhupada, a lot of mercy in other personalities like that. So I just wanted to present that because I know it's going to get out. I know it. It's going to get out. And I want to avoid, or at least as the joker in the court of a king, or at least as the political poet, you present things in a more sweet, natural way instead of attacking the other person. Yeah, you don't want to attack the person for no reason at all. I hope that was only the personalities that are intimately involved in this Hare Krishna movement are going to even understand. But this inclination may be in all of the different mats. It may be in all the different religions. I have a hard time controlling myself. Why not do this? And then, no problem. Yeah, all the problems are resolved. Or I'm going to enforce morality. I am going to enforce morality where I'm the person who's propagating this and I can't stop being immoral. And I won't admit it. What they call moral. So they have to come to, back to those 3 chapters. They have to come to a point where the moralists have to come to a point where they openly declare that you have to purify your body. Yeah, that's what their wrong decision is. The biggest wrong decision is I have to purify my body because. So, Jehovah's Witnesses, many Christians, Muslims, they propagate that this body only once. And this body, I have to purify it because this is the body I'm going to have in heaven. So I have to do everything I can to purify this body. This is the downfall. There's only one birth. That's a big downfall. And then because there's only one birth, I only have one chance, and I have to purify this body. So, and because I'm going to live in heaven with this body. And then there's no logic to it. There's totally no logic to it at all. But that is the biggest problem, is I'm going to purify it, and I have to purify it because this is the body that I'm going to be with. So what they do, they're totally against cremation because, my body is going to be all over the place. Right? They're totally against cremation. And some groups, and don't think they're not popular, some groups, even they take and they make the effort to dry the bones, purify the bones, and they keep the bones. And they even have huge places where all these bones of all these people are. Just because these people have to come back for their leg and arm and sorry boys, I'm not against your religion or anything, but all because they think they have only one life. All because they have put so much emphasis on morality. So much emphasis on morality. Even they go so far as, we're going to kill you because of this moral thing is wrong. Even though there was great preachers, lady preachers, at one point the church decided to burn them at the stake as witches. They were great preachers. They were great preachers. But the men were supposed to be the big preachers, and these ladies were preaching even better than them, and they knew things that the other group didn't know. So better to burn them at the stake. That's how we're going to purify them. Even though one of them helped out a battle, Joan of Arc, and helped conquer the enemy, still we're going to burn these ladies, because this is what we should do: burn them, cremate them. Okay, so it becomes so involved. So there's no reason that I can see for declaring that it's going to help me in some way to take a physical operation, and the energy that is in that desire for sex life is going to help me out. No, it's a disruption. It's a great disruption. And it does create a blockage. It does. It doesn't mean you can't get over the blockage. You can't go back to Godhead or anything. No. Come on. That is not true. Because that is beyond. But it does become a blockage. A blockage where your energy could not flow like it was supposed to. Even if it was to listen, let it flow out and get lost. Don't try to contain it. It's an energy that once the decision is made, that's it, boys. The other dam is shut and the water's flowing. So let it flow. Goodbye. But don't condemn it. It's just that you didn't use it in the proper way. That's it. Nothing else. You didn't use it in the proper way. And use of it in the proper way will give so much more energy. I'd like to end here. Yeah, I'd like to end here. I'll leave the link of the Professor Sanyal's little pamphlet. He analyzes it nicely. He brings it to our attention. And the most important part, he had to write it. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he pointed it out to him. You have to write this. Whether the mood of Bhakti Siddhanta was like, yes, I love the whole book and everything, or no, this is a part that is too delicate. Now, I don't know that. But the book was allowed to come out. It was read by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. He did analyze it. And the backup book that will give of the book, the 3 chapters are very important to Bhakti Siddhanta to understand the right means of their use and get the benefit from it. So the pamphlet is necessary, not just for reading those books, but for whole life. Because he loved in those chapters how he presented that morality is not going to get rid of any desires, immoral desires, as they call them, immoral desires. Not going to get rid of them. Okay, so that should incline people to want to read and delve and understand, am I acting in a moral way and with the because you can act in a moral way with any religious society, but you start damming up the ability of Prem Bhakti to come through. It has to be treated nicely, but you can't dam it up or divert it. So it has to be given great honor. The most honor. Yeah. Okay, I'll just get to my japa right now. And I hope that I haven't disturbed. I just want to bring out some facts. Well, I can't even say facts because I don't go around investigating the brutal truth. The brutal truth, I'm not going to go out and investigate. And I'm just showing some reason why I'm thinking that this is what happened. There's no other explanation. In some points, there's just no other explanation why 3 people get together and why everything has evolved as it has. So that's my only reason for presenting this. To just study with trying to use a mind that is not trying to implicate somebody, destroy their preaching, or anything like that. But just show a movement of consciousness that is there, especially in this transgender subject matter. We sit here, I sit here right next to the Sakibeti temple. But now this is an important point. The Sakibeti temple here in Vrindavan is just a stone throw right next to us. But the person that was the head, or the last head, he died, and nobody wanted to say he died of AIDS. I made an investigation. I did that one. And he died of AIDS. So things go down the family line. So his brother is not a sakibeti. He's not into that. But he's not against it because he loved his brother. They're not against it. He's not going to fight it. He's not going to this, that, and the other. So they still do some things in that temple that could be declared as sakibeti type of understanding and everything. But the brother has lifted that temple up beautifully. Beautifully. He has repaired it, put it together, because the deities there have been worshipped even before the big movement of Sakibetis. They're over 150 years old, maybe 200 years old. And they're called Sant Radhavallabha. There's Sri Radhavallabha. Sant means friend. So they're very friendly deities of Radhavallabha and compassionate and putting up with so many things, so many difficult things they put up with. So they're doing well. Now he's brought it up. He's got a wonderful daughter, Pooja. He taught her how to, or he's sent her to school for dancing, and she became a good dancer, and they even took her to Jaipur for dancing. But now she's married and everything, and her husband's a very good Brahmana. The whole thing changed. Out of the midst of what was declared as Sakibeti, all of a sudden such a beautiful family comes out, all of a sudden. So don't declare things like you have to destroy them and get rid of them to be able to do right. No, you don't do that. You try to see the good in everything. You just try to analyze things with the object of vision that we have. Okay. Thank you very much. If this annoys somebody, please forgive me. I say that many, many times. Please forgive me. Don't try to analyze me as trying to destroy somebody's existence. Yeah. I hope I have been careful enough so that people understand the point. Yeah, the actual point. The erotic principle is not different. It's non-different from pure devotional service. It's non-different. So I have the erotic principle, and everybody is born with the erotic principle. And you can't take that erotic principle out, nor should you be neglectful of it, nor should you be angry at it, or anything like that, because it leads to pure devotional service. The misuse is wrong, but the erotic principle is not wrong. And if you analyze it like that, you say, boy, Krishna really gave me a stronghold. The erotic principle pushes me so much for some inclination. But if I just guide it to the right point, that same erotic principle is going to take me out of this world. Same erotic principle is not different. Just I misdirected. But the misdirection needs, to be corrected in the right way. You have to eat right, sleep right, talk right, read right. Everything has to be done in such a way that all the things that are impediments on the path of devotional service, you're just trying to take them away so that the erotic principle can flower. I don't want to diminish my erotic principle. I want the erotic principle to flower, to become a beautiful lotus flower of many petals. I want it to flower, become a lotus flower of many petals, and I can offer it to Krishna. Yeah. I don't want to attack it in any ways and give it some trouble for its manifestation in the way it does things. Okay, that's it. It's almost 1 hour. You sat through this. Remember, in the links below, you'll find in the description the book. Yeah. I think I gave yeah, I gave the introduction that Bhaktisiddhanta himself penned, but this is no, please, this is a very important matter. It should be handled with great care, because even within the Gaudiya Mats, some of the leaders say no way Bhaktisiddhanta would have written any introduction to this book. No way. They cannot see that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta saw any importance in this book of his. So he wouldn't have written any introduction. So you can't, go backtrack and everything and find out if that's true or not. But I'm under the inclination that, yes, he read it, he saw it was important, and it should be read. Yeah, it should be read. Without trying to go against some great sannyasi that's against its existence. It should be read. Yeah, if one wants to understand this erotic principle, this book will help you grasp the reason why. And also it'll help you understand the 3 chapters that were so important. They're very important chapters. Yeah. Yeah, and you can understand why, because of the adoption of sannyasi, why that is not so much propagated within Gaudiya Math or Gaudiya Mission or anything like that, whereas sannyasi is propagated. But the outcome of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's great efforts and everything to open up the door of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first thing he did was establish the worship of Vishnu Priya and Lakshmi Priya with Gauranga. That was his first opening to the world, was in the Yoga Pit. The first worship was that of presenting, I should say, Lakshmi Priya and Vishnu Priya worship with Nimai Pandit. That was his whole object. So there's got to be something to it. Without having to diminish the great energy that is being given by so many sannyasis and everything, still, don't neglect that other side of Mahaprabhu. Some persons, they're inclined only to know Mahaprabhu because he was called Mahaprabhu when he went to Puri. He wasn't called Mahaprabhu when he was in Navadvip. No, He was known as the arrogant Nimai. Generally, they knew him as the arrogant Nimai because he was always defeating the great scholars of Navadvip. So inside of Navadvip, and you can't even imagine how many schools there were here, there in Navadvip. There were thousands and thousands of students, thousands of them, thousands of schools. So it wasn't something small. It was incredibly large. And he was the arrogant Nimai. Yes. Defeating them all and presenting his points of view. As Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar says, he would defeat their philosophy and then at the next moment reinforce their philosophy. He could do both sides. Defeat them and then reinforce them in the right way. Presenting it in the right way. So it is something. Being neglectful of that married life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I'll tell you, having, if you talk to a Oriya Gaudiya, watch out, because the married life of Mahaprabhu is not so much desired. They want only to hear of the preaching of Mahaprabhu, and they say it's dangerous to do otherwise. You try to understand his activities in Navadvip. They're beautiful, but you try to understand those activities, and it's not the right way. Only after taking sannyas. But okay, we'll leave it like that. I better push this button. Hare Krishna.